The 11 strangest abandoned places in West Virginia. 11. The ruins of Harper's Ferry. Harper's Ferry is a town with an extensive, vibrant history. Not only did it play a pivotal role during the Civil War, but its history goes back long into early American history. It's seen many movements come and go, and now the population has dwindled down to a little under 300. With all of those people who have come and gone, and with such a low population, you could have probably guessed that there are a ton of abandoned buildings scattered throughout the hills around the town. Everything from dilapidated homes to an old power plant set in the hills around the area. There's so much to see that you might want to make a weekend trip out of it. 10. Nuttallburg Coal Mine. Plenty of scattered, abandoned coal mines are located throughout West Virginia, but none of them contain a site as impressive as the old conveyor of the Nuttallburg coal mine. The old conveyor is very rusted at this point, but it only helps it to stand out among the shades of green which surround it. It stretches up and down the hills of the area, and it's kind of amazing that it's still in such good shape after all this time. If you love exploring the old mining operations of the country, then this one you don't want to miss out on. 9. Abandoned Church, Shepherdstown. It's a shame that many of the old abandoned churches of West Virginia have either been already torn down or are slated to be soon. While that may be the case for many of the old churches, this abandoned church near Shepherdstown is still standing despite the fact that it looks as if it could fall in at any moment. There's a gaping hole in the side where doors used to be, but it makes it easier to gain access within. Just proceed with caution if you decide to do that. You never know how sturdy the foundation really is. 8. Tunnel number 17, Cairo. Nothing like a stroll down a ridiculously eerie, abandoned railroad tunnel to make you feel alive. Tunnel number 17 is just one of many scattered throughout the state, but it's one of the easiest to access and, unlike some of the others, it doesn't have a consistent swamp of water beneath you when you decide to venture forth. Sure, there are myths of hauntings and death surrounding the tunnel, but that's the case with every dark, creepy tunnel. Just make sure to bring an extra flashlight. No one wants to get stuck in the dark. 7. Colwood High School. We're not quite sure how a building gets in this terrible of shape in such a short amount of time, but it looks as if someone tried to demolish half of the building and then just left it alone. You can still tell that there were classrooms in various locations and lockers in the hallways, but, aside from that there's not much else that's recognizable. The roof is falling in or completely gone and spots and trees are now starting to grow up through the old rooms, giving this spot a very post-apocalyptic feel to it. 6. TNT Bunkers, Point Pleasant. With mining comes the need for some pretty intense explosives, and you can't just leave those lying around all over the place, which is why storage bunkers like these were created. Easily the most difficult to find on this list, these TNT bunkers are surrounded by thick vegetation and overgrowth. The only thing that's even recognizable at this point are the doors that open up to them. Although there isn't much to see inside, it's still pretty cool to look around with a flashlight while you're there. 5. Thurmond. Thurmond is, pretty much, a ghost town at this point. Only 5 residents remain in the old coal mining town, but you wouldn't be able to tell by just looking at it. The old buildings and businesses stand boarded up, and the only thing that interrupts the peace and quiet out here are the trains that still come rolling through from time to time. We have to say that we love this town because it's actually kind of beautiful in its own way. While it will never be filled again, it seems as if efforts have been made to preserve what it once was. 4. Sweet Springs. Sweet Springs and the area surrounding it were once the spot of a hot tourist destination prior to the Civil War. Tourists from both the north and south would flock here to enjoy the natural springs and catch some R&R. Back then vacationing meant quite the time commitment, so they'd shack up in cottages or in part of the main resort for weeks at a time. This meant that no effort was spared in making them comfortable. While some of the relics are falling apart these days, some hope that the main building will be restored sometime in the near future. 3. West Virginia Penitentiary. The exterior of this structure already looks creepy even before you find out that it's an old prison, but there's something you'll find here that you won't find anywhere else on this list. Although the warden and prisoners abandoned it long ago, there's still the ability to take a tour of it thanks to a historical preservation effort. Tours are offered daily, but the cells in the jail themselves don't get remodeled or refurnished. Everything remains untouched so that it keeps the same look that it always had. People say that it's haunted, and looking around it's not hard to see why. 2. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Abandoned amusement parks are few and far between in America, but the Lake Shawnee Amusement Park's main relics still stand as they rust away. The old swings and Ferris wheel barely stand out amid the gray and brown of winter, but they're quite the sight to behold once you see them up close. The park is officially open to visitors once a year, but that doesn't stop people from popping in from time to time. Just know that someone owns the land and respect it before you go messing with something you shouldn't. Top 5x